Hello, I'm Spiders, a top 250 Deepwoken player. Let's get right into it. Here are my top 5 tips for improving your PvP in Deepwoken. Okay, so my first piece of advice for you is to record your fights. This way, after the fight is over, you can look for mistakes in your gameplay that you can fix to make sure you don't repeat those same mistakes in further fights. By doing this, you can find strategies and new techniques that you can use with your build in order to help you win fights in the future. For example, take this fight from when I was much newer to PvP. One mistake that I could have noticed that I was making here was that I wasn't really paying enough attention to his eyes fissure, so every time it procs, I'd get hit and take damage without even reacting to it.
This may seem like a simple mistake, but oftentimes it's hard to notice in the moment.
By observing my VOD, I could have realized this mistake and made sure to fix it in my future fights. My next tip is to play with people that are a similar skill level to you when you're PvPing. It's not too hard to realize that if you're just dominating someone in a fight, you won't learn much, since it's harder to find mistakes that you can fix. So, if you play with other good players, you'll be able to observe more timestamps where you take damage, and it'll be easier to find mistakes that you can improve on. Additionally, on the offensive side, you can notice some patterns in your gameplay that make it harder for you to break through your opponent's defenses and make you more predictable. Some ways that you can find better players to play with is 1, doing Chime, which is always going to be a good option since there's a ranking system. As you get better at the game, you'll reach a higher rank, and that rank will place you against other players of similar skill level. This is definitely a very reliable method since Chime will always have people free to fight, and always a variety of people free to fight as well. So you can learn more about different builds and how to play against them. Another option is to join a guild. By joining a guild, especially a competitive guild, it'll be easier to find other people that are willing to help you practice and maybe point out your mistakes to you. That could also be good at the game as well and give you a good competition. However, this is not as reliable as Chime, since a lot of the regions don't have a lot of good players the better you get at the game. And also, you have to try out for a guild, which could be difficult for some people, depending on how competitive the guild is. Also, people might not always be available to help you practice, so just keep that in mind. Okay, my next tip is to not waste your time. What I mean by this is, in Deepwoken, there are a lot of different options for what you can spend your time on, whether it's progressing your build, farming hell mode, doing Chime, etc. But if you really want to get good at PvP, you gotta try to minimize your time where you're not contributing to your improvement of the game. For example, while progging builds might be a lot of fun, oftentimes you won't really get into that many fights while creating your build. And making builds can also be very time consuming, so consider that when choosing where to spend your efforts. I'm not saying that progging your build is useless. It could be helpful for improving your build knowledge, but most of the time if you're trying to improve in PvP, guess what you should be doing? PvPing. So if you're focused on improving your PvP gameplay, try your best to take as many fights as possible. That way, the more fights you play, the more you'll be able to learn about PvP and the faster you'll be able to improve. Hey, you might feel like a loser grinding Chime all day, but at the end of the day, if you're trying to improve at PvP, you shouldn't really care about that stuff and just do whatever's best for you. Okay, my next tip, and one that's more integrated with your actual gameplay, is to make sure that you're thinking and adapting while fighting. What I mean by this is, if you realize that you're getting hit by the same thing over and over again, actually try and do something to counteract that. Or, if you notice that you're really struggling to break through your opponent's defenses, and you can't land a hit on them, you could try feinting more or doing more mix-ups in order to try to confuse them and get hits in. The main point is that you shouldn't just be responding to inputs that you see, but you should actually be thinking and trying to look for patterns in your opponent's gameplay that you can take advantage of, or patterns in your own gameplay that you can remove in order to make yourself more unpredictable and harder to fight. And also, if you start realizing that someone else is adapting to you, that is definitely something you should take note of. You should try to change up your gameplay in order to stop your opponent from being able to adapt to you and just start watching you every time. Also, this can help you improve faster, since if you're thinking while you're playing, you'll probably be able to notice some of the mistakes you're making, which you can note for further fights, which will help you improve at the game. All in all, remember that every fight you take shouldn't be about winning, but about learning so that you can win more in the future. By thinking and adapting while you're playing, you can make sure that you're actually striving to improve at the game rather than just to win the fight. And my last tip, while it might be pretty typical to say, it's pretty important to take care of your health if you want to get better at the game. Especially in Deepwoken, your reaction times are really important, so if you're lacking in sleep, that will probably result in you struggling a lot more in fights. For example, if you notice that you can't react in time to Revenge or Flare Blood Commons crit, that's a pretty bad sign that you're not in the right state of mind in order to play the game. And it goes without saying, being hungry or tired will definitely make you worse. And also, if you're playing Chime, being worse is kind of annoying because you're going to lose all of your skulls really fast, and in the end you'll be able to play less games, which is not going to help you improve. So just in case someone needs this to be mentioned, try to get enough sleep that you need and make sure that you're eating food and staying in a good state of mind. If you want to improve as fast as you can, make sure you do this. Also, if you're staying up late trying to get better at PvP, playing Deepwoken, a lot of the time you'll benefit more just from putting that time to sleeping rather than playing the game. So keep that in mind. Thanks for watching. If you pay attention to these tips, I'm sure that'll help you improve at the game. If you have any more ideas or tips you want to share with other people, make sure to leave them in the comments. I'll make sure to respond to every single one of them. And thanks for watching. See you in the next one.